Welcome back to Yusuf Reacts. Today, we're diving into the world of 007 with Live and Let Die, the iconic 1973 Bond movie that introduced Roger Moore as the suave British spy. This film is packed with action, mysticism, and a villain with a powerful presence. Let's break down the plot, highlight the key characters, and see why this Bond film remains unforgettable. Our story begins with the mysterious deaths of 3 British agents. Bond is called in to investigate, leading him from the bustling streets of New York to the Caribbean islands. Bond discovers a web of intrigue involving the powerful drug lord Dr. Kananga, who, under the alias Mr. Big, plans to flood the U.S. market with free heroin, aiming to create widespread addiction and wipe out his competition. Bond teams up with his old friend, CIA agent Felix Leiter. Together, they follow Kananga's trail to New Orleans and the fictional island of San Monique, where Kananga rules. Along the way, Bond encounters tarot cards, voodoo, and a captivating psychic named Solitaire, who can supposedly predict the future. Let's talk characters. Roger Moore's Bond is smooth, witty, and brings a light-hearted tone, setting him apart from Sean Connery's tougher portrayal. Then we have Solitaire, played by Jane Seymour, whose tarot reading abilities and romantic tension with Bond add intrigue. And who could forget Dr. Kananga, played by Yaphet Kotto. Kananga's sinister plans and his alter ego, Mr. Big, make him a memorable Bond villain. We also meet some unforgettable henchmen. Teehee with his metal arm, and Baron Samedi, who embodies the supernatural elements in the movie, add to the suspense and mystery of Kananga's criminal empire. Now, let's talk action. Live and Let Die is famous for its intense boat chase sequence through the Louisiana bayous. Then there's the crocodile escape scene, where Bond runs across the backs of real crocodiles to avoid capture. And the jazz funeral in New Orleans? One of the most chilling openings to a Bond film, as what starts as a sad procession quickly turns deadly. Live and Let Die was groundbreaking. Roger Moore brought a new charm to Bond that won over audiences, and the film's theme song by Paul McCartney and Wings became an instant hit. It also embraced the styles of the 70s, blending Bond's espionage with a taste of the supernatural and blaxploitation themes that were popular at the time. James Bond is sent to stop a diabolically brilliant heroin magnate, armed with a complex organization and a reliable psychic tarot card reader. Several British agents have been murdered and James Bond is sent to New Orleans, and then deep into the bayou to investigate these mysterious deaths. He becomes aware of Mr. Big, who is self-producing heroin. Along his journeys he meets Teehee, who has a claw for a hand, Baron Samedi the Voodoo Master, and tarot card reader Solitaire. 3 British MI6 agents, including one on loan to the American government, are killed under mysterious circumstances within 24 hours while monitoring the operations of Dr. Kananga, the dictator of a small Caribbean island called San Monique. One is killed at a meeting of the United Nations. The second is stabbed on a street in New Orleans while observing a restaurant called Filet of Soul. His body is secreted in the coffin of a passing funeral procession. The third agent is killed on the island of San Monique during a voodoo rites ceremony. The high priest uses a poisonous snake to kill the man. James Bond is ordered by his boss M to investigate the deaths and their connections to Kananga. He is sent to New York City, where the first agent was killed and where Kananga is currently visiting Neon. As soon as Bond arrives in New York City, his driver is killed while taking him to meet Felix Leiter of the CIA, and Bond narrowly escapes a potentially fatal car wreck. The driver's killer leads Bond to Mr. Big, a gangster who runs the chain of Filet of Soul restaurants throughout the United States. It is during his confrontation with Mr. Big that Bond first meets Solitaire, a beautiful virgin tarot expert, who has the uncanny ability to see both the future and remote events in the present. Big orders his henchmen to kill Bond, who, with the assistance of Felix Leiter, manages to escape unscathed. Bond follows Kananga to San Monique, where he subsequently meets Rosie Carver, a CIA double agent, who is subsequently murdered after Bond suspects her of working for Kananga. Later he meets the boatman Coral, JRB, who takes him to the home of Solitaire. Using a stacked deck of tarot cards only showing the lovers, Bond seduces her. Solitaire loses her virginity to Bond and also loses her foresight abilities and is forced into cooperating with Bond to bring down Kananga. Bond escapes the island with Solitaire on Coral Jr.'s boat and heads for Louisiana. When they arrive, Bond escapes Kananga's men in a small craft airport. He meets up with Felix Leiter and the two go to the New Orleans Filet of Soul. When Leiter leaves their table momentarily, it drops down into the floor, where Mr. Big awaits Bond. Big harshly demands to know if Bond had slept with Solitaire. Bond says that the answer is a secret between himself and Solitaire and he'll only reveal the truth to Kananga himself. Big suddenly pulls prosthetic makeup from his face, revealing that he is actually Kananga. Kananga explains that he is producing 2 metric tons of heroin on San Monique, and is protecting the poppy fields with camouflage and by exploiting locals' fear of voodoo and the occult. Through his alter ego, Mr. Big, Kananga plans to distribute the heroin free of charge on the market, which will drive all the other drug cartels out of business, increase the number of addicts, and give Kananga a monopoly of the heroin market. Using the serial number on Bond's watch, Kananga tests Solitaire's truth-saying powers. She fails, but Kananga does not reveal the outcome in front of Bond. After Bond is escorted out of the room, he chastises Solitaire harshly for her betrayal, and leaves her in the hands of Baron Samedi to be sacrificed in ritual on San Monique. Kananga turns Bond over to Teehee Johnson, a thug with a mechanical arm, who takes Bond to the farm, a community in the Louisiana backwoods, filled with alligators and crocodiles and housing one of Kanaga's heroin labs. Bond is left on a small island to be food for the gators, but he jumps on the backs of the reptiles to reach the shore. He sets the farm on fire, killing some of Kananga's men. He steals a speedboat, leading to a furious chase with Kananga's men in pursuit and the local sheriff, J.W. Pepper, and the Louisiana State Police trying to blockade Bond and his pursuers. Bond evades them all and is met by Leiter, who informs him that Kananga, Samedi, and Solitaire left for San Monique. Bond goes back to San Monique, ordering Coral Jr. to plant explosives in the poppy fields. Bond interrupts the voodoo sacrifice, rescuing Solitaire. While Bond holds the ritual attendees at bay, Baron Samedi pops up from a grave. Bond shoots him, finding he's a ceramic decoy. However, the real Samedi appears. Bond fights the man briefly, and the villain ends up falling in a coffin full of poisonous snakes, seemingly bitten to death. Bond and Solitaire travel below ground into Kananga's lair. They find Kananga, who tells Bond that his wetsuit was found and that the explosives he used on the poppy fields have done too little damage to interrupt production. Bond and Solitaire are lashed to a small crane over a shark pool. Kananga slashes Bond's forearm several times, drawing blood to bait the sharks. Using his magnetic watch, Bond retrieves a gas pellet from his shark gun and cuts the ropes holding him. After a brief fight with Kananga, he forces the gas pellet in Kananga's mouth, rapidly inflating the villain, who floats to the top of the room and explodes. After the job is done, Felix leaves Bond and Solitaire on a train out of the country. Teehee makes a last attempt on Bond's life and is ejected from their train compartment at high speed. However, Baron Samedi is seen perched on the nose of the speeding train in his voodoo ensemble and laughing heartily. With its memorable villains, iconic action scenes, and Roger Moore's fresh take on Bond, Live and Let Die remains one of the standout films in the 007 franchise. Let us know in the comments what you think of this Bond classic. And if you're a fan of Bond movies, don't forget to subscribe for more reviews, breakdowns, and behind-the-scenes content.